The Alldus podcast is brought to you by Alldus International, supplying your expert AI and digital transformation staffing needs across the US and Europe. Today, you are listening to our AI in Action series, where leading minds in AI from across the world share their story, success, and advice. AI in Action cuts through the hype and explores the true impact of artificial intelligence in our world today.
You're listening to AI in Action. I'm your host, JP Valentine. Our guest today is Subra Krishnan. Subra is the CEO at Lemnisk. Subra, welcome to the show.
Thank you, John. Really appreciate the opportunity to talk to you today.
I am. We're delighted to have you on. So, Subra, let's start with yourself. A little bit of background, please, on your journey in tech, from where you got started, some of the roles you've held along the way, and what's led you to where you are today as the CEO at Lemnisk.
I've been in sort of tech space pretty much all through my 2-decade career. Spent a bunch of years working with Mercedes-Benz in their sort of research department, building research software for them. And then joined this Austin-based data firm called Trilogy, who are doing some incredibly cutting-edge stuff even before big data became a thing. So I spent a bunch of years at Trilogy, and that's really where I saw the power of data and how you can really exploit data to produce value. And after that, I joined this ad tech company called Missouri. So I'm among the first few employees there, helped open up their business in multiple international markets, took over a product leadership role, eventually took over as the CEO of the company and sold it to a Singapore-based firm called Affle. And then started Lemnisk, and I've been building Lemnisk for the last 3 years now.
Excellent. Thank you for the background, which leads nicely into my next question. So tell us all about Lemnisk, who you are as a business, what the idea was behind founding the organization, and then we can jump into what role data, AI, and machine learning plays in the organization.
Sure. So maybe I can take a step back and talk a little bit about what led me to actually start Lemnisk along with my co-founders. And I guess it was sort of a connect the dot moments, as Steve Jobs says, where I really started playing around with data in Trilogy at Missouri, which was basically a ad tech retargeting company like Criteo and Google retargeting, etc., where essentially you would look at behavioral data of customers on e-commerce websites. What kind of products are they looking at? How many products are they adding products to cart, etc., and really start forming sort of an opinion on the propensity of the user to convert. And then if the user dropped off and then let's say went to CNN or a NewYorkTimes.com, we would really bid on that user programmatically and then get the right to show an ad, at which point our recommendation algorithm would kick in and show an ad to the user. So this entire process leveraged machine learning and data extensively, right from the time to determine whether the user is likely to convert or not. How much do you want to bid on that user, because you don't want to overpay and end up in losses, or underpay and sort of leave money on the table. And really the recommendation algorithm would ensure that what goes out to the user was super relevant, right? So I think this whole process led us to really understand deeply data machine learning techniques. And so after Missouri, Lemnisk was sort of a natural progression. And what we do at Lemnisk is we basically are building what's called as a machine learning driven customer data platform. In this day and age where customer experience is becoming sort of super critical, what Lemnisk customer data platform offers is it really sort of brings together the entire enterprise data ecosystem from a customer data perspective, whether it's a website, whether it's the app, CRM, transaction data, offline data, programmatic data. It really brings all of this together, produces a marketing focused, marketing sent one view, and then it sort of helps marketers create AI-driven, hyper-personalized experiences for every individual user across multiple marketing channels. So that's really what we do at Lemnisk. We've been fairly successful over the last 3 years, and I guess one of the highlights was how, as a team, we fought through the pandemic and survived it, and then sort of on the other side saw an incredible amount of growth.
Subra, you mentioned there the use of machine learning in Lemnisk and how you guys go about working with the customers. When is it the right time to use machine learning, and how often do you find yourself speaking to the customers about the right time to use it and when not to use it, when it's just simple analytics and data pipelines?
That's actually a great question. I think, was it Elon Musk sometime back who said that, most situations for AI don't warrant AI and as they get used. I guess the right way of looking at when to use AI is really when you know for a fact that there are patterns that you can exploit to produce value, but you cannot do it at scale, that it's humanly impossible to really exploit it at scale. And I think that's really where machine learning and AI can play a role. So from our perspective, when we get into a customer engagement, the initial set of use cases oftentimes don't actually require the role of machine learning to come in. In fact, there is enough value if you're just able to organize your data across your different data sources and develop a real-time understanding of the user and set up sort of certain triggers that where you can get in front of the customer in those moments of truth when the customer is expecting a positive or a personalized experience. That alone produces significant impact. But when you really want to push the engagement further, that's really when customers start asking for more. And that's really when we start positioning some of the algorithms that we've built out. Just to give you a sense, if you really think about it, a customer data platform is sitting at the heart of all engagement that's happening that customers see with their end users, whether it's website interactions, click streams, whether it's app behavior, whether it's how many emails are being sent out, are they opening those emails or not, are they clicking on push notifications. All these interactions are actually entering the CDP, right? So that means you could argue that the CDP or Lemnisk is in a fantastic position to really look at every individual user and say, this user is more likely to engage on push notifications than on email and is more likely to interact at let's say 9 in the morning compared to let's say 2 in the afternoon. And those are the kind of early insight that you're able to then apply at scale to a point where, let's say if a customer wants to launch a marketing campaign of for 1 million users, the traditional way in which they would have done it is a batch and blast approach. They would have set up this segment of 1 million users, sent everybody an email on Wednesday at let's say 2 p.m., waited for 24 hours to see who's responding, who's not, and then built this kind of manual journey, if you will. But what Lemnisk can do now is really convert that batch and blast journey into a highly individualized sort of customer journey for each and every of those 1 million users who are part of that segment. So think of it as like this, that you really are able to craft 1 million unique customer journeys. Each journey is basically reflective of that individual user and the time and the channel that they're most likely to engage in. So that's really where our algorithms have a strong role to play.
You are listening to the Alldus podcast. When you're looking to scale your team, or if you are interested in showcasing your company in a future episode, reach out today. Or if you're in the market for a new role, visit our website to view open positions, www.alldus.com.
Talk to us then about the typical customer journey from where they identify the problem that they have, that they need your external specialized help, and what the project life cycle is like from first conversations to end result, and what impact it has for the customer when they adopt Lemnisk as a platform, service, or a partner.
Sure. That's a very interesting question, by the way, because I think if you look at a typical approach that customers would take, right? Generally, they start by this whole idea of customer one view isn't something new. And I think you could argue that it's been around for a decade in some shape or form now. But I guess if you really look at an enterprise journey, initially they might start by looking at a data lake or an enterprise data warehouse, and they might potentially try to create that, and very quickly they realize that data lakes aren't really an experience-centric solution. So in that it is a lake, it just is basically a dump of data, and it's not really a living, breathing entity that's continuously listening to customer signals. And then this normally customers progress to a point where they ask their marketing clouds to solve for it. Typically, it would be one of these large Adobe, Oracle, or a Salesforce kind of ecosystem. And I think there again, very quickly, customers realize that that the broad data sets that they have, the kind of niche tools that they have, really makes it hard for them to hand over the solution of this problem to marketing clouds. And slowly they start recognizing that they need a really specialized sort of platform that brings together their entire tool ecosystem and sets it up nicely for a centralized system of intelligence. That's really when they come to Lemnisk. And normally, when we walk into a customer sort of situation, a customer sales cycle, if you will, our first sort of goal is to really home into the customer's problem. What are you looking to do? Are you looking to drive up conversion? Are you looking to improve your upsell, cross sell? What is that one or more sort of metric that you're trying to move? That's really where we start. And from there, we really try to understand, okay, if let's say you're looking to improve upsell, cross sell, how can a customer data platform, how can Lemnisk actually help you drive value? So we are quickly able to articulate problem spaces in terms of where customer interactions could be sharper, and therefore where personalization can be better, and therefore where the overall upsell cross-sell funnel can improve with the help of a CDP. And so that really forms the bedrock for the engagement, where these initial use cases and the data sources and the channels that need to come together for those use cases to get executed, it really forms a foundation for the engagement. And then sort of the engagement progresses from there, typically to a point where we launch the first few use cases, demonstrate the fact that the CDP is producing value, that Lemnisk is producing value. And then from that point onwards, the sky is the limit, because really customers understand the power of a CDP. I guess you could say that we end up with tons of use cases from that point onwards.
I want to spend some time now, Subra, talking about the team that you've assembled, the journey from when you first launched the company as a startup to where you are now, and what it looks like behind the scenes day to day with the makeup of the engineering team, the analytics team, and anyone else involved. Can you give us some insight into what it's like there, how many people you have currently, what the journey was like building it from scratch, and some of the milestones that you hit along the way, particularly over the last 2 years with the challenges that COVID presented?
One of the sort of thrilling outcomes for us was how we really fought through COVID and could come out on the other side, a bit, I won't say unscathed, but certainly we managed to survive pandemic and really grow incredibly over the last 2 years, right? So we started the company somewhere around end of 2018, early 2019. And the first 6-7 months was really about trying to find product market fit. We had an inkling of what we wanted to build, my co-founders and I, and we go back a long way. And so we really started building out early versions of the product, getting some MVP clients, and really proving out the proposition. And just when we hit our stride in terms of product market fit and our revenue started scaling, COVID hit. And this was, of course, 2020, early 2020. And then we had a torrid 6 months or so as we navigated the company and found ways to survive. And then on the other side, something wonderful happened. I'm sure you would have heard stories about how COVID really accelerated digital transformation. And I guess we sort of lived and breathed that through the last 18 months or so as customers really started understanding the value of a platform like Lemnisk. And we've been consistently growing exponentially for the last 18 months or so. Now, in terms of team, we are a 70-member company right now, predominantly consisting of engineers, product managers, and data scientists. And then, of course, we have our go-to-market and support and operations and customer success teams spread globally.
Subra, obviously, building a startup from scratch yourself is challenging and you learn a lot along the way. And they always say the first few years are critical. It feels like with the growth you've had and the success of the platform with so many use cases demonstrating value, you're at a phase now where you're looking at the next chapter and the evolution of your industry. When you look ahead for the next few years of Lemnisk, what are you most excited about for the business?
I think when we started building Lemnisk as a CDP and really looked at the value creation opportunity, I think our initial goal was really, I would say, narrow in the sense that I come from a very performance marketing kind of background, all the companies that I've worked with. And so really it was about building an ROI focused customer data platform. But I think what the pandemic has taught us and what the kind of use cases that our customers started asking us over the last 18 has taught us is that we are simply just starting the journey. We're just scratching the surface of how we can assimilate data and make it more and more, and how we can mold data to make it more and more insightful for marketers. So I think our holy is to really build out this very robust kind of customer data platform and build out a sort of set of algorithms on top, which basically solves for right channel, right time, user, right message, that combination. And that is the big sort of goal that we're pushing towards. And we believe that we are still very early in our journey. Some of the machine learning algorithms that we've built out, it's really incredible what we've managed to achieve in such a short period of time. And it can only grow better as we learn more and sort of work with customers more.
And with that growth, there's obviously going to be a need to continue to hire and bring in talent, particularly across your AI and data team. When you've been hiring people previously, what is it that you tell candidates about the mission and the work at Lemnisk that has got them interested in you guys over some of the other great opportunities out there? And what opportunities are there going to be for people to join over the next few years across AI?
I think the kind of talent that we want to bring in, especially on the engineering and sort of data science side, they are really excited about building highly scaled systems and sort of machine learning algorithms that get applied at scale. That's really what engineers are excited about. They want to be part of a journey where they build strong deep tech system that sort of produces value at scale. And today, when we speak to prospective engineers or data scientists, what we tell them is the mission of the company, which is really organize and mold customer interaction data to be increasingly more and more valuable for customers, and then showcase the kind of technologies that we work with and the kind of scale at which we work with already. Just to give you a sense, today, the platform processes nearly 500 million customer profiles on a monthly basis. And it's able to churn out insights and for the customers at this kind of scale every day. And these are all real-time systems which require millisecond responses. And I think when we speak to engineers, it's really this aspect of what we're building from a technology perspective, the vision of the company, the kind of customers that we've been able to attract, and the kind of culture that we have at the company that really excites candidates. And I think post-COVID, you are seeing the talent space getting heated up. And I think Lemnisk has really managed to find, by a focus on the kind of work that we do and the kind of culture that we're building, we've actually managed to find good talent and we've actually managed to retain them as well.
Subra, thank you so much for coming on today and talking to us. Really appreciate you sharing your own backstory, the origins behind Lemnisk, how you guys are working with your customers, the right time to use ML and the wrong time to use it, and then all of the growth that you've experienced and what's next. So it's very exciting indeed. Subra, we wish you, your team, and everyone at Lemnisk the best of luck in the years ahead. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, John. Thanks a lot.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Alldus podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review. We are available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and any Android podcast of choice. You can also head over to our website, www.alldus.com, to listen to more podcasts, view our open roles, and stay up to date with industry news. Thanks for listening and stay tuned for more great episodes coming very soon.